Jesus, did I remember to turn the mic on? Oh, thank God. Alright, I said I was going to do it, so let's do it. You know the drill. Imaginary thought experiment pitches for famously difficult movie projects. Our subject this time being the hypothetical return of the Fantastic Four to the Marvel Cinematic Universe proper. Now, the problem with doing the Fantastic Four in the Marvel Universe is always going to be that the Fantastic Four themselves were the first true Marvel Age superheroes. Yes, Captain America and Submariner came first, but they did so in very different Golden Age circumstances, and they both later got reimagined in very different forms after the Fantastic Four had debuted and set the new tone. As such, by now a lot of what made them unique and original has been harvested by other properties. And if there's one important takeaway from the stunning failure of Iron Fist, it's that "but not with this specific character we haven't" is not a good enough reason to adapt something whose themes and gimmicks have already been adapted better elsewhere. So how do you give a new superhero family story a reason to exist in an era where team-ups are now the norm for the genre, and pseudo-family teams have been especially done to death by everything from Avengers to Guardians of the Galaxy to Lego Batman to Justice League and New Mutants, probably, and that's not even touching on the Incredibles, Sky High, and who knows what else I'm leaving out. Also, how do you handle how old-fashioned and, well, goofy the Fantastic Four and their powers just are? Well, I think I've worked out a way. It's gonna take more than one episode to explain, the format's gonna have to be a little different, but I think you're gonna like it. At least I hope so, because a lot of you have been asking for it, so you'd better. So, by new format, I mean that instead of just hitting the broad strokes, I'm gonna imagine a whole complete hypothetical pitch. Characters, story, themes, arcs, place within franchise, etc. And since that means attempting to visualize a movie that doesn't have visuals, that means you'll be seeing a lot more of me in this one. Drink it in. Anyway, I'm Bob, the show is In Bob We Trust, and this is how I would fix the Fantastic Four in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Okay, since I'm doing the whole damn shebang here and we are talking about a hypothetical Marvel movie, we don't start out with the movie itself. We start out with a post-credits scene in whatever ends up as the previous most recent Marvel movie, wherein the superhero star or stars of said movie are chilling out and being social in New York City, along with whatever other MCU superhero actors are available on the day. Suddenly, a report comes in of an unidentified flying object having materialized in near-Earth orbit and now falling fast towards the city. The heroes act fast, confronting the mystery projectile, guiding it into a safe splashdown in the Hudson River, and discovering that the UFO is actually a Kennedy-era NASA space shuttle. And if one of the heroes is one of the older guys, like Iron Man or Hank Pym, maybe you stick some kind of identifying insignia on the tail fin so they can go, "No, it can't be." And then just as the police and the fire rescue teams show up to assist, kaboom! Big fiery explosion tears open the hull and a huge orange rock monster arm punches up into the frame. Hold, cut to black, see you in 6 to 8 months. Okay, so for the movie proper, we do not open on that post-credits moment. Instead, we open with the traditional origin of the Fantastic Four, square-jawed super scientist Reed Richards breaking into a launch site in order to commandeer his own experimental spaceship and launch anyway, even though the government has cut his funding and said he's not allowed to. With him is his best friend and pilot Ben Grimm, his fiancée and research partner Sue Storm, and her pain-in-the-ass teenage brother Johnny because she's his legal guardian and he pretty much has to be there. They all get into the spaceship, confident in Reed's abilities, and in an action-packed defiance of all the government and army guys, they blast off for outer space as the on-screen text informs us that this momentous day happens to be November 8th, 1961. Yes, the same day and date as the first issue of the original Fantastic Four comic was published. The Fantastic Four of the Marvel Cinematic Universe will be a family of superheroes from the early 60s with all the period-specific behaviors, mannerisms, outlooks, and aesthetic preferences that implied. And the same accident that gives them their superpowers will also simultaneously fling them forward in time to the contemporary present-day Marvel Cinematic Universe, thus granting license to unapologetically use the characters in the authentic, old-fashioned, kitschy 60s personas they've always worked best in, and to pack the movie with retro-futurist design sensibilities and retro-cool early 60s fashion, music, and decoration. Marvel meets Mad Men. In fact, that would pretty much describe this version of Reed Richards. What if Tony Stark was also also Don Draper. Cool, right? And I can't even take credit for that part. This is actually a fan theory that's evidently been in circulation among fandom on the internet for quite some time. I first heard about it from a friend on Twitter, and I'm told Diamanda Hagen is also incorporating it into a Fantastic Four speculation video of her own. In any case, wherever it comes from, I agree it is a perfect place to start from. Seriously, Marvel, steal this part. Steal it from someone. But you might ask, how is this different from what they already did with Captain America? Well, the thing is, what makes Captain America work, especially in the MCU, is that no matter what, you always know he's gonna do the right thing. Like in Winter Soldier at the beginning, when the Falcon assumes he must be having it rough in the future, and instead Cap is all, no, actually, I'm focused on all the positive things about today. Because the whole point of that character is that he was already the best guy ever before they gave him the suit and the powers. Unless you're actively trying to troll everyone, but that's a different discussion altogether. The point is, Captain America is about a guy who's actually better than his time period. But with the Fantastic Four, there's no expectation for them to be perfect. Quite the opposite, in fact. So you get to do all the fun, people awkwardly out of step with time business. However, more importantly, it gives you a primary theme and thus a primary story. You see, the reason the Marvel Cinematic Universe formula works is that it puts the arcs of the main characters at the forefront and makes making you understand and love these people the main focus of every film. That's why the bad guys are sometimes so forgettable, because they're not important. They're there to provide the situations for the heroes to develop in. So while we'll talk about villains and plot stuff in part 2, this first part, all about primary story and character. So, the team is up in space in 1962 because Reed wants to use science to open a wormhole because Space Race Against the Soviets ask your grandparents. They go through the wormhole and wind up in what they'll call the negative zone, but we'll recognize as one of those freaky kaleidoscope dimensions from Doctor Strange. Maybe a nihilist flies by, maybe not. The point is, it's full of cosmic rays, they all get zapped, and they get their freaky powers. Reed, summoning all of his strength and revealing his stretch power, reaches out and manages to hit the override switch, blasting them out of the zone and back into low Earth orbit. But now it's 60 years later, even though it's felt like only a moment to them, and we rejoin our post-credit scene already in progress, and begin that primary character-centered main story. Because of this time jump, the family's inner journey as they reintegrate into the world of the 21st century as what will eventually be the Fantastic Four will mirror their outer journey. We still feel like our normal selves, but the world is looking at us like a bunch of weirdos. And the key angle to this is the struggle they each go through as members of what is essentially a 60s all-American nuclear family, i.e. father who knows best, supportive homemaker wife, rambunctious kid, and either an older kid, a fun uncle, or a big goofy dog, depending on your view of the thing, trying to accept and thrive in a post-all of that 21st century can be expressed through their struggle to also accept and thrive through their power. Specifically, Sue, the Invisible Woman, is used to literally and figuratively supporting her husband and family sight unseen, but as she comes to understand that today a woman like her can be so much more than that, it can be expressed through the development of all the other stuff her powers can do in the comics. Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, will be confronting a world where being a show-offy, rebellious goof-off is also called social media superstar, and he can learn that he, like his fire powers, can be a creative force as well as a destructive one. Ben Grimm the Thing, well, that's always been easy. Your exterior doesn't need to define you. It's okay for a tough guy to have feelings. We'll talk a little bit more about the Thing in part 2. And Mr. Fantastic? Well, as the leader and literal patriarch of the team, and thus the guy who kinda has to take the nominative central spot in this character development as plot narrative, Reed Richards would be a little more complicated. I mean, his allegorical power arc is pretty obvious. He's a stiff who needs to see the value in loosening up. But what would make him different from the others is that while they're all dealing with a world that's full of new possibilities for them, as a square-jawed, all-American, educated white male head of household type from 1962, Reed Richards would be dealing with disappointment and resentment. Remember, in the original comics, Reed was partially motivated by guilt at Ben being turned into the Thing and was always working on a cure. What I'd propose in this telling is that this would be the way he feels about all four of them, himself included. Something has gone wrong, something is wrong with us, this is abnormal, I have to get us back to normal. which can then parallel his initially negative and dismissive view of the modern world, not in a hateful, "rawr, I dislike all these minorities, Sue, make me a sandwich" way, but in a "this isn't the future I was trying to build" way. Thus, his arc becomes recognizing as a futurist and as a person that he needs to expand his view of change as something to be nurtured rather than fought against. He needs to learn to stretch. So, to recap, we have an origin story. We have a twist on that origin that allows for the heroes and the aesthetics of their brand to have a retro cool look, vibe, and sound that honors the comics and feels different and fresh in the broader MCU. We have 4 characters with 4 individual arcs which together form a single unifying narrative arc. Can this family hold together with the world, themselves, and all the things that make them a family seemingly having changed forever? We have, in other words, a story. Now, what we need is a plot, the action, the whys and whens, and an antagonist to make it all happen. And I'll lay all of that out next week in Part 2. Hey gang, here's a question that keeps coming up. If your handle is moviebob, where are your movie reviews? Well, my old reviews are in a lot of places. You'll find many of them on my YouTube channel, but you'll find the brand new ones on geek.com, an awesome site that's also your one-stop news source for science, TV, gaming, technology, nerd culture, the works. You can find all my reviews directly by going to geek.com/author/bchipman, because that's my real name, and you can get regular updates on all my reviews and all of geek.com's other great content by signing up for their kick-ass newsletter at subscribe.geek.com. And don't forget to also subscribe to the Geek.com YouTube channel, where you'll find the videos that accompany my reviews and tons of other great content too. Remember, that's Geek.com, the Geek.com newsletter, and Geek.com on YouTube. Make sure you don't miss out on all the latest MovieBob reviews. You can also check out my own new website, MovieBob Central, where you'll find my blog, links to all my work, and shop for my books, ebooks, and future MovieBob products. And please remember to like these videos, share them with all of your friends, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching another MovieBob production.